Good evening. Welcome to our Institute of Global Professional Free webinar. Thank you all for joining with us and stay till the end. My lovely audience, I am your host for the evening. My name is Badhunda. I am from Bangladesh. The audience, I am proud to be a associate with IGP as a global member. I feel honored and privileged to host this webinar. It's my delight to welcome you all to our Institute of Global Professional Free webinar. Thank you all for joining us today in this marvelous evening, and it's my humble request and pleasure to all of you to stay with us till the end. Institute of Global Professionals serves student and community resource providing holistic social work and educational for create a competent generation. IGP is a leading on online skill development institute with thousands of learners worldwide. Institute of Global Professional is an educational institute providing social work with globally recognized. We organized our webinar training offline online courses by based and trained speaker coaches from all over the world. Our mission is to empower people. We have already completed 1089 1089 webinars successfully. Let's welcome our speaker. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, ma'am. How about you po?
Uh, sir, please describe yourself and then you can start your presentation.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for that kind introduction, ma'am. To everyone watching from different parts of the world, welcome to another webinar that is surely will help us as educators. It is evening here in the Philippines, and let me first greet you good evening, or in Filipino, magandang gabi. To other parts of the world, good morning or magandang umaga. To our Christian friends celebrating Christmas tonight, Merry Christmas, or in our language, Maligayang Pasko. I am Alexis Alquizan, a public school teacher at Benigno S. Aquino National High School in Concepcion, Tarlac, Philippines. I am currently taking up Master of Arts in Education, major in Physical Science at Tarlac State University, Tarlac City, Philippines. Currently, I am teaching grade 10 science and research 2, which is advanced subject of science, technology, and engineering curriculum in grades 10. I would like to thank first the director and founder of Institute of Global Professionals, Sir Kaushik Datta, the advisor of IGP from United Kingdom, Professor Caroline Makaka, the chairman of IGP, GB Bobley, and to the director in the Philippines of IGP, Dr. Nestor Pinuesca. Thank you for your trust. I am here to talk about the utilization of bimodal learning module. The discussion will focus on the research done by yours truly, the development and validation of bimodal learning module in science for grade 7. Start. Time continuously demands more to fulfill the diversified needs of learning. The ever changing world is one of the biggest challenges that an educator and education system may face. As the world advances, teaching and learning must not be stagnant. Technological advancement in the 21st century has brought and will continue to bring benefits and drawbacks in the field of education. With these changes, the teaching strategies and methods with the aid of technology must still help the students develop appropriate skills, creativity, and critical thinking. As stipulated in one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which aims to safeguard equitable and inclusive quality education and encourage continuous and lifelong learning, the world needs to safeguard equitable and accessible quality education, aiming for relevant and operative learning outcomes. United Nations reported that the progress in education is too slow to achieve Goal 4 in UN SDGs. It is also noted that school completion inequities are likely to worsen, especially among poor and vulnerable students, due to many factors. One of the significant problems in the current situation is the internet service, computers, and other necessary technologies in schools are scarce and enough to support the teaching and varied learning processes. The development of different modalities and platforms is distinct in every nation to cater to the students' diverse needs and learning strategies. Javius and Tomlinson believe that many of us know the golden rule: treat others as you would want to be treated. Yet, in an education system that serves different students with different learning styles and needs, the platinum rule of treating others as they want to be treated is more fitting. It is not only about teaching and learning processes, but also about curriculum and instruction suited to vast spectrum of students. Student process information uniquely. With this knowledge, teachers must focus on the differentiation of strategies, different elements of access, different students with varying contents. With this view, differentiation also depends on finding what students need to understand, recognize, analyze, and do. Different content will result in different outcomes. Yet, a, va- a varied teaching style for a same content will yield the needed results. In a study about South Korean students with multiple and different preferences, Fortuna found that a multi-style, multimodal, and balanced teaching approach appears to be the most reasonable and effective way of instructing learners. In many countries, most studies found that the best teaching practice is one that uses a variety of teaching styles and addresses side of each learning dimension to reach and engage all the students. Then a pandemic suddenly arises. As the world prepares to integrate education further with technology, one of the most affected sectors in the current pandemic is education. Face-to-face instruction is not feasible due to the minimum health standards implemented to contain the virus. In the Philippines and most other countries, learning continuity plans are made. It is demanded that students pursue their studies even in the middle of a pandemic. The Philippine Department of Education designs different learning modalities, including online classes, modular approach, blended learning approach, and educational TV and radio-based instruction. In the survey conducted by the department, half of the learners' parents prepared modular instruction, which is the most convenient option as it will not require them to have internet connectivity and allow the students to study at their own pace. Some parents also cited different reasons for choosing different learning modalities for their children. It includes the absence of household members that can provide instructional supports in distance learning, the availability of gadgets and devices, access to the internet, and other challenges that may affect distance learning modes. As the majority option, modular instructions refers to both printed and digital or offline learning materials. The science framework of Philippine Basic Education crafted by the Department of Science and Technology or DOST highlighted the usage of science education and its ties to technology and industry, which from a national standpoint are areas of high priority for advancement and development. However, significant concerns can influence the achievement of the curriculum framework, including the excellence of teachers, the teaching learning process, instructional resources, the teaching learning process, the school curriculum, and the organizational assistance. In terms of instructional materials, it is noted that school science should nurture interest in learning by organizing the curriculum and materials based on learners' varying needs and learning strategies. The Philippine Department of Education released the Basic Education Continuity Plan during COVID-19, laying down the basic education path during the COVID-19 years. Implementation specifies Specifics are exemplified by inappropriate procedures, regulations, or ordinances and operationalized through programs, projects, and activities. Based on all available data, the Education Department concludes that distance learning will be the essential mode of learning delivery in the upcoming school years. The development of self-paced learning modules or SLMs is fast-tracked to keep up with the opening of classes. Then, the basic education classes began. They were confronted by numerous problems as most parents, teachers, and students were new to or beginners in facing these teaching and learning approaches. Multitudes of complaints come by. This includes significant to minor errors in learning materials, the expense of reproducing and distributing the printed modules, the absence of a parent or guardian to guide the learning process, and the learner having a hard time understanding the content of modules by themselves. In a study of Dolete and Rugayan, they argue that many studies on improving learning materials in science have been made in the Philippines. However, these are mainly concentrated on developing and assessing laboratory standing issue or laboratory manuals and investigatory projects. With this issue of scarcity of learning materials, combined with the challenges and problems encountered by the modular learning approach during the pandemic, teachers were again challenged to develop effective learning materials to cater to the students' different learning needs and strategies. One way of addressing the variety of students' learning styles is to utilize instructional materials that employ bimodal or multimodal approaches to teaching and learning. In these times where relevant and responsive and research based learning materials are much needed, the development of learning materials must focus on and cater to the students' varied learning styles and be easily understood, even in the absence of a person that can guide them in a home. Determining an effective learning strategy is not easy because students vary in many ways and in many aspects like interests, skills, and learning styles. We all know that what works for one student may not work for others, and what works for others may not work for one student. With all this, the researcher or yours truly attempted to develop a bimodal learning module based on the least learned competency discussed during the regional online workshop on the preparation, development, and evaluation of supplementary learning resources and be validated by science education experts. Modules shall not be narrowed to one mode of instruction, which is pure text and reading. Supplementary modes must include online video lessons, simulations, interactive assessment tools, and other supporting materials. Thus, this study was undertaken to develop and validate a bimodal learning module in the least learned science topics in grade 7 to give rise to a relevant and responsive learning module that can satisfy the pressing need for basic education in a fast changing technological advancement setting. To start with this research, let me state the objectives of this research. The study aimed to develop and validate a bimodal learning module in selected science topics for junior high school. Specifically, the study attempted to attain the following objectives: develop a bimodal learning module on the least learned competencies in science of grade 7 students. Number two, to validate the developed bimodal learning module for grade 7 students in terms of experts evaluation, the printed copy, video lessons, and their scripts. And 1.2, users pre-test, post-test performances. And lastly, identify the implications of developing and validating the science bimodal learning module for grade 7 in science education. After undergoing experts' evaluation, the developed material was subjected to the use of 70 student participants. The pre-test and post-test gain scores were analyzed using a paired t-test sample. Below is the null hypothesis for the study, which is there is no significant difference between the pre-test and post-test gain scores of the student participants. If the t-score is more than 1.995, we must reject the null hypothesis. And for the significance of this study may contribute to the developing self-learning modules and other learning materials for the Education Department of the Philippines. To the school administrators, the findings on the least learned competencies in science subjects may indicate what learning competencies need further improvement and development in terms of learning materials and quality of instruction. To the teachers and instructors, the recommendations, suggestions, and feedback of instructional material and content experts on the bimodal learning module can be a guide as they develop and innovate their learning materials for the students. Also, the result of the effective assessment of a bimodal learning module using a pre-test, post-test design may help teachers identify the strong and weak points and parts of different learning materials. To the parents and guardians in general, this study focuses on developing a strategically designed learning module to help learners with working parents and guardians, or with no individual who can help them with their studies at home. To the students in general, this study helps learners cope with lessons effectively by utilizing a bimodal learning module that will employ a self-learning approach and different modalities that will cater to their learning needs and strategies. And lastly, to future researchers, this study can serve as an insight for other researchers into using bimodal learning modules in teaching science. This study will add to the increasing literature and studies on developing and validating different learning materials that future researchers could use as a reference. And this is the scope and delimitation of the study. This study attempted to develop a bimodal learning module for teaching selected topics in grade 7. The study involved three groups of participants. The first group of participants was composed of two experts on instructional material development, two content experts, two information and communication technology experts. The group must be composed of an education program supervisor in science and division learning resource evaluators and developers. They evaluated the bimodal learning module's phase and content validity using an evaluation rating sheet based on the content, language, layout, and design of the printed copy and the content, instructional, and technical quality of the embedded video lessons. To establish the effectiveness of the material and check for possible problems that can be encountered during the implementation, pilot testing of the material and retest of evaluation materials was conducted with the second group of participants, consisting of 35 learners of Benigno S. Aquino National High School in Concepcion, Tarlac. The pre-test post-test materials were subjected to test-retest evaluation to determine the difficulty index of each item. To determine the effectiveness of bimodal learning module, it underwent implementation with a third group of participants, consisting of 70 science, technology, and engineering learners or STE learners of Benigno S. Aquino National High School in Concepcion, Tarlac. The selected school is a great locale for the study as it is the biggest secondary school in the province of Tarlac based on student population. The pre-test and post-test performance of all the students are the leading indicators of the effectiveness of the developed module. Feedback from the students, users was also accommodated. The Benigno Aquino National High School Science, Technology, and Engineering program has 70 students in grade 7. The developed module focus on the competency, explain the color and intensity of light in terms of wave characteristic, which is based on Department DepEd RO3 and Regional Memorandum 101 series of 2020. This competency was identified as the least learned competency for Science Grade 7 during their assessment, evaluation, and online workshop on the preparation, development, and evaluation of supplementary learning resources. The study was conducted during the school year 2021-2022 third quarter of the academic year. And this is the conceptual framework of the study. It first undergo the design and development of the learning module based on the least learned science competencies. Then it proceeded to the experts evaluation and recommendation to the developed learning module. And third step, users validation of the developed bimodal learning module through pre-test and post-test performance. And lastly, the implication of validated bimodal learning module. With concerns about the paucity of learning materials, teachers are confronted with the challenge of developing suitable instructional materials that can improve student knowledge and may sort out the predicament of materials quality, effectiveness, and scarcity. Learning modules are being developed for different reasons, but for the same goal, providing a quality learning experience. Some practical uses of learning modules include uninterrupted delivery of instruction to remote areas, supplementary reference material for other students, and one of the significant choices of medium of instruction for other educational institutions. The students being the center of learning process must be given effective and quality instruction suitable to their learning needs and styles. As discussed by a study, the value of providing multimodal instruction and stress the need for teachers to adapt their lessons so that all students have an equal chance of succeeding. They noted the importance of comprehending the various ways learn and how they collaborate and process informations. As such, the learning plan and materials must be congruent with the learner's different learning styles and needs. This study's main objective was to incorporate a bimodal learning module in selected science topics for grade 7 students. The figure shown on the screen is the conceptual framework of the study. The research design of this study, the researcher used the experimental research design or the quantitative experimental research design. This research design can be done in the research laboratory, in the field, and in the classroom. In this study, the experimental research was done in the class with students as study subjects. The researcher chooses the design to determine the legitimacy of conclusions that can be drawn from the study. The use of experimental research design is often publicized as the most rigorous of all research designs or as the gold standard in contrast to all other research designs judged by Trohim. If this research design is well implemented, then the experiment is almost certainly the most robust design concerning internal validity. When determining whether some program or treatment causes outcomes, it is vital to have a strong internal validity. This study used one of the specific approaches of experimental research design, which is the pre-test post-test design. This is a classical type of quantitative experimental design and has a good internal validity. The advantage of this approach is that the target participants involve all the students in the special science program. The effectivity was determined using the pretest post-test performance of the student users. Pretest and post-test research are one of the many methods of quasi-experimental design. If post-test scores are above the pretest, one presumes the intervention was successful. The figure shown in the screen is the approach done by this research. Before the experimentation, the developed bimodal learning module has undergone an evaluation from content and instructional materials experts to test and check its validity. They evaluated the bimodal learning module space and content validity using an evaluation rating sheet based on the content, language, layout, and design for the printed copy, and content, instructional, and technical quality for the video lessons. The study was conducted at Benigno Aquino National High School. This fiscally independent secondary school is situated at San Nicolas Poblacion, Concepcion, Tarlac, Philippines. This school is categorized as mega school based on its learners' population. The junior high school department recorded 7,140 students for school year 2021-2022. It also offers two types of programs at junior high school level: the Technical Vocational Education Program and the Science, Technology, and Engineering Program. Thus, this school is an excellent locale for the study because the researcher could find a plenitude of important informations, insights, ideas, and opinions from the school experts and obtain needed data from the large population of learners. The study involved these methods of gathering data, which is the ADDIE model. Development of bimodal learning module followed the analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation model, or the ADDIE model. This paradigm guided educators and researchers through developing effective educational programs and resources for their audience. It is an instructional model paradigm that has endured the test of time and purpose. It is simply a method to help us remember through a program models, although the model seems linear. It does not have to be followed tightly or in a linear methodology, especially if one previously had course resources developed. The following phases were followed in the study based on the ADDIE model. Phase 1 is the analysis. The researcher used the Department of Education Regional Office Tree Assessment and evaluation of the least learned competency to identify the least learned skills in Science 7, which serve as the foundation for the activities included in the learning material. And for phase 2, the design. The researchers selected learning objectives, assessment methods, and content of the bimodal learning module. And for phase 3, the development. The researchers started writing the content and activities of the bimodal learning module. The offered exercises are introspective and student-centered. And for phase 4, the implementation, the researcher put the workbook through an expert's validation before actually using it to determine the bimodal learning module using the evaluation tools crafted by the Department of Education of the Philippines for printed materials, video lessons, and scripts. Descriptive statistics such as means and standard deviations were utilized in scrutinizing the validation evaluation of experts. And lastly, the phase 5 of this study is the evaluation. Verbal comments and ideas from experts and students were considered when revising the material. The mean rating of each criterion in each factor was evaluated for the printed material and video lessons. Four experts validated the printed material. Each criterion can give a maximum of 4 points and a minimum of 1 point by each expert. A 4-point rating means that the material is very satisfactory in the specific criterion. 3 points are satisfactory, 2 points mean the material is poor in the criterion, and 1 point is not satisfactory. After each expert gave their rating, the mean rating was computed to determine if the material passed the minimum required points set by the Department of Education. And the evaluation tools were adopted from Department of Education, the printed material, video lessons, and scripts. After the initial revision and pilot testing, 70 experimental group of students used the bimodal learning module. To determine the usefulness of bimodal learning module, the pre-test, post-test performance of student participants was evaluated and interpreted. The revised bimodal learning module was then subjected to final evaluation and proceeded to the production of developed bimodal learning module. And this is the statistical treatment. The researcher used the weighted mean, standard deviation, and t-test for statistical procedure to evaluate the data successfully. And for the presentation and analysis and interpretation of data, for the number one statement of the problem, the development of a bimodal learning module based on the least learned competency in science of grade 7 students. The researcher ensured that the written content had goals that the written content had goals and an overview that told students what they should be able to do with the following instruction. The overview discusses the material's features and instructs users on properly using and handling it. Assessments were also placed at the start and end of the discussion of the lesson in the material. To ensure that students fully comprehend the lesson, the module has the content organized into learning activities and practice exercises. Pre-tests are presented to gauge the students' prior knowledge of the lesson. This will indicate if they can move forward with finishing this module or whether they need to seek their teacher's help to grasp the lesson better. The completion of the post-test after each is also encouraged to assess the student's understanding. Including icons in the material made it easier for students to navigate each learning activity. And each learning activity was followed by video lesson with links and QR codes. For reference, some parts of developed bimodal learning module about color intensity of light and the published web page is shown in the screen. For the second statement of objective, the validation of the developed science bimodal or the science module for grade 7. The bimodal learning module was evaluated by individuals whose qualifications meet the standard and are certified learning resource evaluators of the school's division of Tarlac province. The researcher used the prescribed evaluation tools from the Philippines. And the expert will validate the printed copy, video lessons, and script while the users will be tested using their pre-test and post-test performances. And for the printed copy, this is the summary of mean ratings from the expert's evaluation of the printed material. For factor number 1, the content of the printed material got a sum of ratings of 27.25, higher than the minimum required points set by the Department of Education. This means that the material passed the content. And for number 2, the format factor, the material garnered the 71 points, which is 1 point short in the maximum required points, but still passed as it reaches the minimum point needed to pass this criteria. And for the third criteria, the presentation and organization, the material garnered the 19 points, which is 4 points higher than the minimum required points, meaning it also passed this test. And number 4, the accuracy and up-to-datedness of information. It garnered 24 points, and that is the minimum and maximum points needed to pass this factor. And for the scripts, for the first factor, the intellectual property rights compliance, all 5 scripts have passed the evaluation of the experts. Also for the number 2, the learning competencies. For number 3, instructional design, presentation, and organization. They all passed the evaluation made by the experts. For number 4, the assessment. The video lessons and script does not include the assessment, so it is not applicable to be assessed. For number 5, accuracy and timeliness of information, it got a perfect 24 points for all the 5 scripts. And for number 6, the language, it also garnered 24 points in all, across 5 scripts, which is 4 points higher than the minimum required points. And for number 7, the compliance with script writing conventions. The scripts got a varying score with 23 or 22, and it is also higher than the minimum required points, which is 16, meaning it also passed the evaluation. And for the technical design, it garnered 26 points across all the 5 scripts, meaning that it also passed the minimum points of 20. And lastly, for the video lessons, this is the summary of ratings from the evaluators for the video lessons. For the content quality, most of the video lessons garnered 38 points, which is 8 points higher than the minimum required points to pass this criteria. For number 2, the instructional quality. Most of these video lessons garnered 39 points or 38.75, also higher than the minimum required points, which is only 30 points. So it also passed this criteria. And for number 3, the technical quality, the video lessons garnered a varying scores of 49 points or 48.75, and it is also higher, much higher than the required points, which is only 39 points. And for other findings, it garnered 16 points, a perfect score, so meaning it also passed the assessment. And for the pretest post-test evaluation, paired sample t-test between pretest post-test performance of student participants is done. So shown on the screen is the mean for the pretest of the students, which is very low. Thus, it is 6.9143, and the post-test is 18.0800. And we got the T-score of 46.098 and the DF of 69 with significance of two-tailed in 0.00, meaning the description is significant. After the comprehensive evaluation and the integration of experts' recommendation, the developed bimodal learning module was used by the student participants. Before use, student participants were given a pre-test for the specified learning competency, and a post-test for the was also administered after they had completed all the tasks on the developed bimodal learning module. As mentioned earlier, if the t-value is higher than 1.995, we must reject the null hypothesis, which states that there is no significant relationship between the student participants' pretest and post-test gain scores. As shown in the screen, it is significantly higher than 1.995. Our t-score is 46.098. The performance between the pre-test and post-test of the student participants improved as shown in the table. The mean gains in both groups differed significantly between the pre-test and post-test. This indicates that using a bimodal learning module for least learned competencies in grade 7 improves the student performance. It could be seen that the post-test performance had a higher mean gain, which is 18.8, than the pre-test performance mean, which is only 6.91. It is seen that the t-value is 46.0987 with a two-tailed p-value of 0.000, which is less than the alpha level of 0.05. The negative sign for the computed t-value tells us the direction of the difference in the sample means. Since the t-value is higher than the critical value, the null hypothesis is rejected, concluding that there is a significant relationship between the pre-test and post-test gain scores of the student participant. Consistently with the study of Leonen, one of the findings of this study is that good materials should have the following characteristics. Number one, be unmistakably related to the curriculum they support. Number two, be authentic in terms of text and task. Number three, to promote interaction. Number four, allow learners to concentrate on formal aspects of language. Number five, encourage learners to develop skills in learning how to learn. And lastly, encourage learners to apply their developing language skills to the world outside the classroom. And for the last statement of objective of this study, the implications of the bimodal development and validation of the science bimodal learning module to science education. The modes of education delivery in the Philippines take on a new shape and room due to the pandemic. Different modalities were used to fill the gap in the face-to-face learning setup. Learning modules were considered the new normal in learning materials. With these learning modules, students were only given one size fits all types of module. Students are just expected to read and answer the module activities without the teacher's supervision or any supplementary material. Thus, the bimodal learning module is timely and relevant currently. With the difference between the pre-test and post-test performance of the student participants, it is evident that their gain scores improved significantly. Employing an inserted link to the video lesson in printed learning materials became the bridge to connect the gap in the education needs of the learners amid the pandemic. And this is the summary of findings of the study. The findings of the study were concise according to the list of problems mentioned in Chapter 1 or mentioned a while ago. So, the development of bimodal learning module based on the list learned competencies in science for grade 7. The developed bimodal module followed the ADDI model. The learning materials is comprised of different parts. The bimodal learning module is made up of various components. Student users are guided through each section step by step to the different icons and labels in the material. To gauge students' prior knowledge of the lessons, pre-tests are presented. Students are also tasked with completing the poster after each module. This learning also employs visual lessons, as the program's names indicates. The visual lessons are also presented to supplement the lessons presented in the materials. Links and QR codes were also provided. For number two, the researcher developed a bimodal learning module that combines print and video lesson materials. The developed bimodal learning module was evaluated by content expert, instructional material experts, and ICT experts. The printed bimodal learning module was evaluated by two content experts and two instructional material experts. In all four evaluation factors for printed learning modules, the developed bimodal learning module passed all the specified criteria. The experts' recommendation and feedback were also considered before the material was used for testing. The learning module has embedded video lessons uploaded online. The video lessons and their scripts are evaluated using different evaluation tools prescribed by the Department of Education. The scripts used in video lessons were evaluated by one instructional material expert and one content experts and two ICT experts. Each script was evaluated and the sum of ratings per factor in evaluating the scripts of video lesson was computed. The video lessons included in the printed material were evaluated by one instructional material expert, one content expert, and two ICT experts. The sum of ratings were compared to the minimum points required to pass each factor set by the Department of Education. In all three evaluation tools, the materials and its required attachments passed and complied with the minimum requirements set by the Department of Education. As a result, the experts recommended the usage of the material for the student participants. The grade 7 student participants pre-test and post-test comparisons demonstrated the value of the newly created Science Bimodal Learning Module. Using the paired sample t-test, the post-test mean is significantly higher than the pre-test mean, with a t-ratio of 46.0987 and a sigtail of 0.000, the t-test significantly differentiated the performance of student participants in their pre-test and post-test. To conclude, the, by utilizing a bimodal learning module to improve students' learning performance, learners could identify, comprehend, and integrate the lessons learned. Learners were given another experience of learning that employs video micro lessons that will supplement the ideas presented in the printed material. The bimodal learning module helped the students improve and deepen their understanding. The bimodal learning module holds the attentions of the students. The length of the video material is also suitable for students' screen time limit. With easy to understand printed material linked to video lessons and interactive assessment, student assessment performance improved considerably. The study found that using bimodal learning modules in science education can significantly improve students' performance and understanding of the concept by giving the students two modes of learning. They are more attentive and not jaded by this new learning delivery compared to the conventional one. The researcher concluded that utilizing the developed and evaluated science bimodal learning module prompts the students to perform better. The developed learning material also created a learning experience better enjoyed by the students than the traditional printed module. And to cap this presentation, I have the I have found out the following and drawn the following recommendation. Since the effectiveness of the science bimodal learning module has been proven, teachers should incorporate the bimodal approach in their classes to maintain the continuity of quality education both in the face-to-face setup and other modes of learning delivery. The implementation or integration of the usage of bimodal learning modules should be encouraged by school administrators to improve the quality of basic education continually. And lastly, similar studies must be conducted on a large group of students or a bimodal learning module developed in other learning areas to determine if the same conclusions will be drawn. So that is all about this study. The study is the development and validation of bimodal learning module in science for grade 7. Again, I am Alexis Salkison. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It has been very informative for us and also for our participants. Sir, it's time for our quiz session. After completing the quiz session, we will start our question answer session. So you have to wait for a few minutes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dear participant, to join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP3 and the code is IGP3. After a short video, we will start our quiz competition. Please mention your friend to join our quiz competition. Okay, let's enjoy our quiz competition. হ্যাঁ দিছি অলরেডি 13 জন জয়েন করছে হ্যাঁ তাহলে এখন কি করব এটা যে হচ্ছে না আচ্ছা জানুয়ারিটা কি ডাউনলোড করে ফেলবো হুম? আচ্ছা Dear participant, to join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP3 and the code is IGP3. We will pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name which will directly print our certificates. Top 10 will be awarded with quiz competition certificate. Already 31 people joined with us. Please mention your friend to join our quiz session. Dear participant, to join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP3 and the code is IGP3. We will pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name, which will be directly print on certificate. Top 10 will be awarded with quiz competition certificate. We will start our quiz competition after a few minutes, so please join with us for the quiz session. Dear participant, to join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP3 and the code is IGP3.
আমি বলছিলাম যে তখন ওটা করতে দাও আমি কেন হ্যাঁ তোমরা সবাই একটা জামা পাশা আনিয়ে দিয়েছে জানি তোমরা পাবে আজকে পাতা ভিডিও করতে বলা
To join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP3 and the code is IGP3. We will start our quiz competition after 2 minutes, so please mention your friend to join our quiz competition. To join our quiz competition, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP3 and the code is IGP3. Please mention your friend to join our quiz session. We will start our quiz session after 2 minutes. To join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP3. And the code is IGP3. We will pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name, which will directly print on your certificate. Top 10 will be awarded with quiz competition certificate. We will start our quiz competition after 1 minute. Let's start our quiz session. Our first question is, who discovered observational learning? Option 1, Bandura. Option 2, Pavlov. Option 1, Bandura. Option 2, Pavlov. Option 1, Bandura is the right answer and 67% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Safal is holding the first position after completing our first question. The second question is, active learning does not involve option 1, thinking about how the material you read realize related to your own life. Option 2, reading only the materials required by the instructor. Option 1, thinking about how the material you read relates to your own life. Option 2, reading only the materials required by instructor. Option 2, reading only the materials required by instructor is the right answer and 80% people are right here. After the second question, Jordan is holding the first position in the leaderboard. Our third question is, which is true of bimodal score distribution? Option 1, the group tested has two different groups. Option 2, the scores are neither high nor low. The group tested has two different groups. Option 2, the scores are neither high nor low. Option 1, the group tested has two different groups is the right answer and 72% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Janelian is holding the first position after completing our third question. Our fourth question is, Mayberry 2000 found that language learning ability was determined by option 1, whether a child had hearing loss or vision loss. Option 2, the honest of language experience during early brain development. Option 2, the honest of language experience during early brain development is the right answer and 91% people are right here. Ricky is holding the first position after the fourth question. Our fifth question is, learning the name of new student prevent me from remember my previous student's name. Option 1, encoding failure. Option 2, retroactive interface. Option 1, encoding failure. Option 2, retroactive interface. Option 2, retroactive interface is the right answer and 78% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Udiana is holding the first position after the fifth question. The sixth question is, the study of how physiology process affect and can enhance teaching and learning. Option 1, educational psychology. Option 2, behavioral psychology. Option 1, educational psychology. Option 2, behavioral psychology. Option 1, educational psychology is the right answer and 56% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Dinesh is holding the first position after completing our sixth question. Our seventh question is, why is code building a strong preference for bimodal builders? Option 1, bimodal use these to learn their non-dominant language faster. Option 2, dual lexile retrieval is less costly than language inhabitation. Option 2, dual lexile reliability is less costly than language inhabitation is the right answer and 14% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Danish is holding the first position. Our eighth question is, I learned Spanish when I was young. Now I am learning Italian because of retractive interface. Option 1, I can only recall the Spanish word for house, not Italian. Option 2, I can only recall the Italian word for house, not Spanish. Option 2, I can only recall the Italian words for house, not Spanish is the right answer and 46% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Dianis is holding the first position after completing our 8th question. Our ninth question is, reacting on the basis of previous learning and understanding is what Piaget calls. Option 1, accommodation. Option 2, assimilation. Option 1, accommodation. Option 2, assimilation. Option 2, assimilation is the right answer and 70% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Danish is holding the first position after completing our ninth question. Our 10th question is, learning a spoken language during childhood dash the learning of sign language during adolescence learning sign language. Option 1, facilities inhabit. Option 2, facilities. Option 2, facilities is the right answer and 22% people are right here. Congratulations, our top 10 quiz competition winner. We have all of your name which you entered during joining. We will pick them from Slido and prepare certificate and will post them into our official Facebook page and group. Our official Facebook page is Institute of Global Professional. Dear participant, after a short video, we will start our question answer session. Our speaker is here to answer your question. So we are requested you to ask your question in our comment box. Let's enjoy our question answer session. দাদা ওটা পাবলিশ পর্যন্ত করছি। আচ্ছা হ্যাঁ আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে আচ্ছা যদি জিজ্ঞেস না করে যেতে বলুন আচ্ছা Hello, sir. Welcome back.
Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Dear participant, you are requested to ask your question in our comment box. Our speaker sir is here to answer them. Dear participant, we are requested to ask your question in our comment box. We are waiting for your question. Dear participant, we are request to ask you your question in the comment box. We are waiting for your question and our speaker sir is here to answer your question. Dear participant, we are requested you to ask your question in our comment box. Our speaker sir is here to answer them. Dear participant, we are requested you to ask your question in the comment box. Our speaker sir is here to answer them. Our first question is from Rivana. Can we use bimodal learning in other subject?
Thank you, ma'am, Ma'am Rowena Garcia, for that question. So, one of the recommendation of this study is to do this study in a bigger school or bigger settings or other institutions. Also, one of the recommendations is to use at least use another bimodal learning in other subjects. So, it is advisable to also use bimodal learning in other subject areas.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your answer. Our next question is from Nindi CD. What is binomial learning again, sir?
Thank you, ma'am, for that question. I think she is asking what is bimodal learning again. So, bimodal learning, bimodal learning, it only means that you will use two modes of delivery of instruction. So, in my study, I use the printed material and an embedded video lesson. So, that will be the two modes of delivery of discussions.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. Our next question is from Alexander. Sir, I have my question. What's your perspective about the utilization of the research you have discussed in the college level?
Okay, like the question a while ago about the usage of the bimodal learning module to other subjects, um, it is also advisable to use it also in college level, and we will also do a research on that. So the implementation or integration of the usage of bimodal learning module should be encouraged by the teachers, school administrators to improve the quality of basic education.
Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. Our next question is from Dionysius. How we would imply that study in the different approach of knowledge between student and distance learning.
So the question is how we would implicate that study in the different approaches of knowledge between situated and distance learning. So the study found out that using bimodal learning module in science education can significantly improve students' performance and understanding of the concept by giving the students two modes of learning. They are more attentive and not jaded by this new learning delivery compared to the conventional one.
Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. Our next question is from Jessa. What are the benefits of bimodal learning, sir?
Okay, so as mentioned during the presentation of the data, one essential benefits of bimodal learning is that students with working parents or working guardians at home, they do not have anyone to help them for their study. They can learn using this bimodal learning modules. Also, um, as mentioned in the discussion, that the performance of the student significantly improved because of the bimodal learning usage of bimodal learning.
Thank you so much, sir. Our next question is from Fallen Joy. Since bimodal learning means two kind of learning delivery mode, what is the advantage of the bimodal learning if I add the text-based module through an autonomy in Messenger?
Okay, that is a very good question. So it is usage of messenger is also encouraged in the delivery of learning or instruction. So it is advantageous in ways that messenger is very accessible to everyone, so students can easily engage with your lesson when you use messenger or other any bot app that can reply to the students automatically. So by using messenger, it is also using bimodal, since you are using or sending the information or instruction to the students via two modes, digital and the text-based module.
Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. Sir, I think there is no more question. On behalf of IGP, thank you so much, sir. It has been a very wonderful session. I hope everyone learned from your presentation.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Dear participant, it's time to give you your webinar code. Our today topic is utilization of biomodel learning module in science teaching, and the code is IGP5523. And the code is IGP5523. Without code, no one is eligible for certificates. With code, you can claim your certificates anytime. Thank you so much, everyone, for your active participation. I hope everyone learned from our webinar. See you again in our next session. Till that, stay happy. Once again, I am Badhandas from Bangladesh. Thank you so much.